What's up, guys? So today I'm gonna be teaching my wife, this is LA, how to reball a chip. So if she can do this, you guys have no excuse. So what she's gonna be doing is we're gonna be taking this max power regulator this is from a Switch motherboard. It's smaller than the size of like your pinky nail, and she's going to reball this.
And I've never used a soldering iron.
I don't think she's ever held a soldering iron before, but I'm pretty sure I can teach her just some ground rules. I won't be touching any of the tools. I'm just gonna only explain things to her and give her some pointers, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so in my top drawer over there's a board holder. This is also gonna come out. Okay, I can't touch anything.
Board holder.
It looks like
this?
Yeah, that's it. Perfect. Cool. Okay, and you just put it over the chip.
Oh.
By the way, this is a damaged chip, so there's going to be some solder mask already on it, but we're still going to use it. So the chip goes in between those little...
And this?
Yeah, that metal area.
So do you prefer here or...
I usually, for smaller chips, I'll put it in the middle of the holder. Yeah, that's perfect. You can do that. And grab the microscope. I can't touch your tools, so...
Yeah, not my tools for today.
Yeah.
Now I press one of these.
Yeah, try to guess which one, actually.
Oh. I'm just gonna touch all of them.
You're pressing every right
I
one.
pressed. Oh, that's
There
the
you go.
first one I pressed. Okay, whatever.
It might not have registered. Wow. Okay. I don't even have to show you, I guess, how to use the microscope. You're already doing perfect. That's the zoom ring.
Oh, okay.
But to focus, you can use this right here.
Ah.
And when you change the zoom, you have to change the focus. I would zoom in a bit more. Like, whatever you're comfortable with. Like, you're going to be working on...
Well, I don't know anything. I'm not comfortable with anything.
Cool. Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take some flux, which is the blue thing over there, the syringe. Yeah. And this is going to help solder flow. So we can get this hair out of here. So if you want to take a Q-tip or something, try to look at the screen. I know it's difficult.
So my hand is in the way. It's better.
Yeah.
I'm just trying. I guess I can go over the chip. I was
Yeah,
trying
you
to
can.
avoid it.
No, you can actually probably better to clean the chip off too. You got to get the hair off the chip as well. If you can't get it with the Q-tip, you can get like small tweezers. So I would pick the green ones that are bent there, a little bit more to the right, more to the right. That one, yeah. Perfect. Okay, these are really thin. Just try to get your bearings of where the tweezers are, and grab the hair off of the chip. The problem with the microscope I have is you don't have depth of field. So this is the difference between using a stereoscopic microscope. You don't get the benefit of having depth of field with a digital microscope like this. So it's kind of takes some getting used to. Nice. That's very clean.
Very clean.
Well, it is. Honestly, for a microscope view, it takes a lot to get an area clean like this. So just to give you a little bit of a tour. This is the solder you're probably going to use the most. This is wick. This is to remove solder from a chip or from the board. So you're going to be using both of these. I use this to cut the wick. This I just like use straight off the roll, so you can just pull a bunch of it out towards where you're working.
Oh, okay.
This is the soldering iron we're going to use here. I'm having her use the furnace iron with the chisel tip. I think makes the most sense for this.
It's like being at the dentist.
Okay, so this is your alcohol over here.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna use this to like clean stuff. You'll probably just use Q-tips or Kim wipes for this, along with I use this brush a lot. For
this one?
Yeah. Okay, you can go back under the microscope. So let's pretend this is a chip straight off of the motherboard. This is gonna be unleaded solder, which means it has a higher melting temperature. So what we want to do is mix in leaded solder to lower the melting temperature, so it makes it easier for you to get it off, basically. So it's going to be a little counterintuitive because we're adding solder onto the chip in order to get it off of the chip ultimately. So first, here's the iron over here. Mm-hmm. Take it with your right hand and notice how you have like a spin it around a bit. You've got a little chisel tip. So you want to use the flat side on the chip, not like the pointy side. So it's like as flat as possible. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like this.
Yeah, kind of like a paintbrush where you're going to paint on the chip. Don't touch the chip yet, but just get a gist of like, yeah, that's exactly how you're going to do it. Just to like make it flat. Yeah, that kind of movement.
I see.
Turn the fume extractor on because we're going to be using solder. And you can move the flux out of the way a little bit and pull the fume extractor closer to your working area. So it's like actually pulling fumes away. That's good.
I made this.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you. Okay, and then now just grab some solder from the roll over there. Yeah, and pull it out all the way. And you're gonna tin the iron by just melting some solder on the iron, and you can do it closer to the tube extractor so it pulls.
Like this?
Yeah, just like that. And all you want to do is just like you can just kind of feed it into it. It melts really fast, so you don't have to. Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
As you can see, it's just brand new to this. So, so yeah, you just want to get a big glob of it on the side that you're gonna be pointing downwards. So
okay, like
the
this.
interesting thing about the knife tip is that even though you've tinned one side, you see all the solder on there.
Mm-hmm.
On the other side of it, you have basically nothing.
Yeah.
Because there's sort of two independent sides. So you're gonna use the side that you're most comfortable, like angle wise. So it's that one.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you're good now.
Okay.
You have plenty of solder on there, and then you can press the microscope. And now we want flux. Flux helps solder to flow. So if you don't use flux, actually I'll show you. Without using flux, just for fun, put the solder very gently. You can just go down slowly. Just drag it a little bit across the chip as lightly as you can. And we'll just get a good idea of like.
Wow.
Cool. So yeah, you can see it like melted
Yeah.
some of the stuff on there. And now you'll get an idea of like, this is actually not a good example, but you see on the right hand side.
Here?
Yeah, like, well, just like here. Yeah. See how that's like not very well melted? It's like,
yeah.
It doesn't look shiny like this. It looks kind of like dirty.
Mm-hmm.
So now instead, grab some flux with the syringe.
More?
Yeah, cover the chip. I mean, that's fine. That will cover the chip. Because it's, again, the depth of field, you won't see how much you're putting on necessarily until you melt it. That's going to be plenty. If you want to clean it, you just sort of shove it into this
Should I
brass
clean
thing.
it first?
Yeah, we clean it now.
Okay.
So you can just stab it kind of. Yeah, perfect. And see how it like kind of made it shiny?
Yeah.
So the cleaning plus the tinning really cleans the tip well. And you can tin it one more time just to get a nice big glob on there. Just like do the exact same thing you just did and you'll see the difference. And look at the screen while you do it. Very gently.
Anakin wants to join.
It's true.
I don't think I'm touching it.
Yeah, I don't think you're almost touching it. Perfect. Yeah, and go across the whole thing. So make sure you like mix solder in with the whole thing, and try your best not to like press against the chip, but like hover above it so you're mixing the solder in. That's perfect. You don't want to essentially scrape it. You see all those places where there's green? That's where I've scraped it before and needed to fix my mistakes basically. If it's too hard to mix solder in, add some more solder, make a big glob on your iron again.
Yeah.
And you can. The only thing I want to touch is the stream deck.
Yeah.
I can change the camera angles. Plenty to take care of. Okay. So it's easier to hit the chip when you have less solder on your iron. So when you have more solder on the iron, it's going to be easier to mix it in without like actually. That's perfect.
Oh, what's the black thing?
That's probably just because the iron has like some crap on it, like oxidation and stuff. So this is what it looks like. This is actually a great example. So this is what it looks like when you don't have flux. So add a little bit more flux to the top.
It smells like hot glue when I was doing craft as a child for Christmas.
What smells like hot glue? Hopefully you're not smelling much. The whole experience smells like hot glue.
It does.
That is perfect. And that crap is probably like burnt flux or oxidized solder. That actually might have come out of the cleaner. Just clean it a bit first. And I always like to tin the iron before putting it back. So if you grab it again and just put some
on both sides?
Solder on it. Yeah, on both sides. The main reason for this is if you just leave the iron without solder on it, and it gets cool, it's going to oxidize and it's going to be hard to get solder to stick to the tip if you just kind of like leave it without solder. Cool. So next what we're going to do is we're going to take some wick. So just grab a little bit of the wick below. I'm going to go feed Anakin because he's going to be meowing the entire time.
Family video.
Anakin is very hungry, so I'm going to go feed him before we continue. I'll be right back. Okay. So now we're going to wick. So grab some of the wick and grab the red pliers.
These ones?
Yep, the little cutters. And cut like an inch or something off of it. The problem is if you cut too big, your iron's doing more work essentially to heat the wick. Yeah, that's good. That's good about.
Straight or at an angle?
Straight for this time. Actually, that's a good question. If you were just trying to wick like a specific point, I would cut it at an angle. Make it the same size or shape as what you're wicking. And you're not going to want to hold this because this thing gets really hot while you're wicking. The whole point of wick is to conduct heat. I actually like to use Personally, I like to use these like thick blunt ones just because they're like the same size as the wick. It just it's nicer to hold. And you're gonna have to hold that in your left hand. Because you're gonna use your right hand to you want to be more precise with the iron. Now I'll say right away, when you're wicking, if there's any resistance, you don't want to like yank on your wick. Worst case, just let go of the wick, because what happens if you yank on it? So this is like microscopic, right? These pads.
Mm-hmm.
So if you accidentally get stuck on one of them and you don't apply enough heat and you pull too much with your left hand, it's gonna pull the pad off the chip. That's one of the biggest mistakes people make when they're wicking a BGA chip, especially a really tiny one like this. It's really easy to not apply enough heat and get stuck. As a human, you have the reflex to just pull the wick off the chip, but you're just, by doing that, you're just yanking everything that it's stuck to with it. Just get it lined up in a way that you're comfortable with. And actually, before we do this, we're gonna want two things. We want flux on the chip, fresh flux. Sorry to do things out of order here. It's kind of my fault. That's plenty. And then just tin the iron a little bit. That's good. So, and the reason is the wick is gonna take the solder off of your iron. But the reason we tin it beforehand is if you don't tin the iron first, the wick won't take enough heat from your iron. And if you use too much solder to tin your iron before you wick, you're just going to end up like soaking up the wick. It's kind of like a sponge. Temperature set to 425, that's plenty for this chip. It's actually good that it's a little higher temperature. Press your iron.
Can I do like from here down? Or should I go from down up?
That's a good question. I would personally go from down up just because you'll be able to see what you're doing a little bit more.
And do I move on the wick or do I bring the wick?
You bring the wick with the iron. Yeah, that's a good question.
Okay.
Do put a little tiny bit of pressure on the chip. Just not hard. Yeah, that's good. That's perfect. And do that. You can do that again like a few times, and just try to put more even pressure on the wick on the like bottom area. That's good. And move a little slower, because if you move too fast, you're gonna accidentally pull pads off. Yeah, I think you need to put a little bit more pressure on the iron. Don't be too scared of like putting a little bit of pressure. Like your wick shouldn't be able to move under your iron. Like put more pressure.
Oh, okay.
That's much better. See how it like cleaned off the last few there?
Yeah,
so
but not the first ones?
Not the first ones, just because of probably the angle of your iron. So it just means that you weren't flat on the chip when you were wicking. So, yep, press down. Yep, and then go across. Lift up. That is what you're looking for. Nice work. And then do the exact same thing there. The wick can take a lot more solder than it looks. It looks like the wick's full, but you'll notice when it's full. Worst case, if it's like too difficult, we can... Did you feel it get stuck a little bit there?
Yeah.
So that just means the iron wasn't like transferring enough heat. So, but you did a good job not ripping pads up. So you're doing good.
I like lifted the iron a little.
Yeah, if you lift the iron, the wick is not going to have enough heat to like go smoothly. And right now, you've wicked a few times now, and your iron probably doesn't have enough solder on it to transfer enough heat.
Right.
So what I would do is, let's just do two things. You can clean the iron, tin the iron a little bit, just flip it, because you don't have to like deal with cutting it. Cool. And you can just do the exact same thing on the bottom area. I already can tell that's perfect. That is beautiful.
There's a few missing, no?
Yeah, you missed two there. Yeah, you can do that one more time probably. And leave the iron there for a little longer just to make sure the heat kind of transfers all the way through the wick. Should be fine to get that last little bit. Perfect. Nice job.
Yay!
Perfect. So now we're going to clean the old flux off of the top of the chip. Because this is like going to be very thick, if you try to clean this with a Q-tip, actually try it with a dry Q-tip.
Can I use the same one as before?
Yeah, that's fine. We're not working in like healthcare, so you don't have to worry too much about.
That's true.
So see how it's like, it's kind of thick and it's not really coming off at all. To make it easier to clean, you can make it thinner by heating it. So yeah, grab your hot air, and the temperature's fine, 160 is fine. And you can put the hot air back, and while it's warm again, grab your brush, put the Kim wipe on it, and then brush it, with the alcohol.
Is this desoldered like this one still?
No, so that one does have a little bit of... You can actually zoom in with the microscope and you'll be able to see a little bit better if there's solder on it. So you can see there... You're right, there is solder on that one. I'll just... Well, no, I can't touch anything. So, to be honest, that's fine. If you wanted to be a perfectionist, we could go in and grab that with a pointed bit of wick. But
I'm
I'll leave it
okay.
up to you. You're happy with it?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So the next thing we need to do is see how there's a bit of, and this is might actually not be your fault. You see the areas that have green on it, essentially. Those were areas where I already screwed up and scraped off the area. Yeah. So these chips are particularly delicate. There's other chips that, like, if we were to do what we just did, you would have been completely fine. There would be no issues like this. But because this is a really particularly delicate chip, the little, like, orange areas came off. Yeah. So that area there, and then lower, like, to the right, like at the bottom, you see that area there also has some.
Right.
So we basically, those are areas where the chip has been exposed because we put either too much heat or we put too much friction with the soldering iron or with the wick. To be honest with you, I think these were already like this and I had fixed them with some solder mask. I think you just pulled the solder mask I had already put over these off. It's possible though. So you can already see what I did at the top here, where I've like covered the area with some green stuff. We're going to be doing the same thing here to just cover the areas to fix them before we reball the ship. LA already went to grab the little...
I know nothing, but I do watch his videos. No.
Other way, yeah. It's a little weird.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, like that. So, and then it's so funny she knew to grab the X-Acto. Yeah, okay, so grab the green stuff there. Okay, I do not take care of my solder mask syringe, so it's very difficult to push this out. So you're going to have to push kind of hard to get even the tiniest bit out. Yeah, it's because it's cured. And you just really don't need that much. So don't stab yourself. But yeah, good. That's perfect. That's plenty. Okay. And you can just throw that back in there. Okay, so now you're going to want to grab your really sharp tweezers. And you have to keep in mind that the angle at which you poke the solder mask is the angle at which you're going to need to press it onto the chip. That's good. That's perfect. What you just did, that's perfect. Yeah, because if you grab like a big glob, you're going to see how big this is on the chip. So before you press it onto the chip, to make your life easier, put a glob next to the chip, like on the metal part. That's perfect. And press down. What I recommend, use both hands on the tweezers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Put your fingers on the side of the tweezers that you're going to tap the... Yes, exactly like that. That's perfect. You're going to have a lot more control over where you're tapping. And angle the tweezers down a little bit so that they're not like... Yeah. You'll know it's not actually touching the chip yet because the tweezers are blurry. Once the tweezers start to get into focus, that means that's actually like closer to the chip and it's going to touch the chip. So you're getting there. See how it's in focus now? There you go. That's good. And yeah, already we got some, but that's like plenty to spread around. Okay. So if you want, you can put the tweezers aside for now and try to use a Q-tip to like...
A Q-tip? That's going to be huge.
It is going to be huge. This is why I care about the pointy Q-tips.
Yeah, I can understand.
So do what you can. You might just have to like pull off the whole thing, but you might be able to. That's actually better. That's in a better place already. Yeah. Okay. And then what you could do actually? No, it is because you pulled it. You pushed it off of the top, the top right one.
But then the bottom one.
The one on the right. I would go down with it. Yeah. And then go down. Yeah, perfect.
Oh,
Isn't that beautiful? So this, honestly, this is the epitome of working with small stuff like this, is you just have to like work with the bullshit. Because like everything's so small. And what I honestly would recommend doing here is let's cure this right away.
And then scrape it.
Actually, before we cure it, I would maybe, you see the one on the left there, try to grab a little bit. If you still have some like, just do what you can to pull that off. And that wasn't even touching the chip because it wasn't in focus. And look at the camera, not the chip. Oh, I see. You're trying to push it up. That's smart. That might work. That actually might. That either is going to work really well or you're going to really fuck yourself over by removing a lot of the... I would maybe flip the Q-tip now because it's... Oh, kind of crazy. Wow.
Hey.
Let's go. Beautiful. Okay, so grab the flashlight thing there. Yeah, that's the UV light. And double press the delay button. And it's going to set it for 60 seconds and just put it over the chip. Yep. And now we sit back, have a drink, look at your phone.
That's small.
It is pretty small.
They will never make fun of your Q-tips obsession again.
I'm really impressed. You're doing incredible so far. The fact that you can wick that up so nicely is impressive. That's plenty good for those pads. We mainly just don't want any of those pads to like bridge together. So it's not a big deal that we have a little bit over some of those pads. We could try to scrape off a tiny bit if you want to try that. Those blue ones are kind of my junk tweezers. I always keep a pair of junk tweezers that I don't mind if I bend up and stuff like that. Again, just hold with both hands, one side. Perfect. What you're going to want to try to do is very, very, very gently scrape the little bit that's covering the pad, because it will make for a better solder ball. That is perfect. Beautiful. Good. Honestly, let's cut our losses and call that a day. Because what can happen is if you try to scrape too much, it can flake the entire thing off that you just put on there. I'm on the edge of my seat. Beautiful. Incredible work. We like to see it. Good.
Now we cure.
What I would do is try, if you can, see the bottom two there, how they're kind of connected. Use the clean side of the tweezers and spread what you already have on there downwards.
That's so small.
Yeah, it's very, very, very small. Yeah, exactly, and drag it down. Incredible work. That's perfect. We like to see it. Okay, yeah, you can cure it. And we'll wait. Cheers to having a new employee.
Nope. I don't know that that'll be very efficient.
Based on what you've done so far, I think you could get efficient. I'm very impressed. What's it like to be NanoFix?
That's pretty chill.
It is pretty chill.
Yeah.
It's relaxing.
I see the appeal.
It's very chill.
I'll stick to Nano Wife for now.
It's chill until you do 10 hours of work on a device, and then you're about to test it. Then it's not chill.
Yeah.
Then it's very anxiety inducing.
No, I get
in a good way.
I get emotionally involved for you sometimes.
There'll be times where I'm working like 10 hours on something. I'll come to bed and she'll be like, "Did you fix it?"
I like wake up, it's 2 a.m. and I'm like, first thing that comes to mind, did you fix it?
Okay, cool. So that is a beautiful, clean looking chip. You can scrape a little bit if you want. Oh my goodness, Ellie, you're like a pro. Wow. That could not have been more perfect. Yeah.
This one?
Yeah, if you want. Yeah, so see, that can happen sometimes.
Is there a chance of bridging here?
There's a chance, but with the way we're going to reball this, I wouldn't be too worried about it.
Okay.
If you want, you can put a little dot again.
Okay.
But it's going to be really hard to get like that tiny, tiny, tiny bit.
Have faith.
I have faith. I mean, I really do so far.
That's a lot.
Wow. I don't think I could have done that better. Okay, you can cure that now. So, and then we can reball it. So while this is happening, go in my third bottom drawer. There's one in there that's like the topmost one here. Perfect. That's the one we want. Yeah. So you can just check if there's stuff in the holes. We mostly just want to make sure the stencil is like clean and free of hair and dust and stuff. See how there's like some dust in there? So you can, what I like to use is actually, recently, I've been really liking this brush for cleaning out the stencils because it.
Oh, I like when you do that in the video. It feels really satisfying.
It is very satisfying. Wouldn't you do that too?
Yeah, I'm doing it.
So the bristles are super small, so they get between the stencil holes really well. They get between the stencil holes.
Shit on me.
So we can just use some alcohol on the brush and then just like brush in the middle of it. Yeah, see how it like is small enough to actually like clean in there. Yeah. Cool. And you can do it on the other side too, just to get it as clean as we can. So now what we need to do is get the chip out of the holder here. And you're going to get a clean room wipe thing up there.
This one?
Yeah, that one. It's just a bit thicker, so I like to use these for putting the chip down on it. And you can grab that. It's going to be kind of sticky, but I like to keep it sticky because there's flux underneath it. And yeah, put it just in the center. So in my third drawer down again, there's a little bottle of like paste. We've got the Mechanic solder paste. This is 183 degrees Celsius melting temperature solder paste. And we also want a little spatula. I have a spatula for spreading.
Can I put stuff away?
Yeah, you can put stuff away.
I'm going to need this, I'm guessing.
Yeah, in a bit. Yeah, you can keep that out. You can also keep those tweezers out. Yep. You can put away all the other ones though. So I like to get tweezers ready, like these bent tweezers ready, because we're going to need to use these with your right hand to transfer pressure between your left hand and your right hand, because you're going to need to use the hot air station eventually.
Okay.
So already, let's just set the hot air station to the right temperature and airspeed. So I like to use like about 30% airspeed. Yeah, that's good. And then turn up the temperature to like 350, 360. Yeah, 356 is perfect. We do need a spatula. And then you can open the solder paste.
Ooh, I remember something about this.
What do you remember?
Flux in it. So
yeah.
You like to dab it with something?
Yeah, dab it off. Yeah, like you can use the Kim wipe. That's actually perfect. So just grab a chunk of it with the spatula.
This much? Or
yeah, that's
should
fine.
I go in the...
I like to get the one with flux and then dry it off a bit. It's nice to have a little flux in the solder paste. You don't want it to be too dry, but you also don't want it to be too wet. Yeah, that's good. That's probably plenty. And you can just dab it like on one side. I would press the spatula into the, into the wipe and then go on the back. Yeah, perfect. I always like to just like get it all on one side for the first spread, just so it goes into the holes of the stencil. That's perfect. Cool. And then you can just put this aside for now. And then onto the microscope here, you're gonna line up the stencil with the chip. You're gonna have to get that lined up and press it against the chip with your fingers with your left hand, because you're gonna use your right hand to spread the paste. Good. And I like to either do it above and below the chip or on the diagonal. Yeah. And just press the stencil over it. That is perfect. That is beautiful. Okay, now take the spatula, and when you spread, don't go too much at an angle. Try to go like parallel to the stencil. Yeah, just like that, because that's gonna help push the solder paste more into the holes. So
I do it now?
Yeah, just press it over, like over the whole thing. You can look at the microscope. You don't want to press too hard, but you can press a decent amount. So this happens if you don't go parallel enough or if you don't press hard enough. This is like how you would normally feel like you should hold it, but I like to hold it this other way, like this, yeah, so that you can get more parallel to the stencil, because you really want to like press the solder paste into the stencil. So that's perfect. Yeah.
Do it again?
Yeah, do it again. Do you feel it better?
Yeah.
Cool. And now what I like to do is you can flip over and scrape it, like really scrape it the other way, other direction.
Oh,
and
I see.
scrape. Yeah, scrape.
Like this way?
Yes. Yeah. Scrape that way. Yeah. You can press. You don't have to worry about pressing this when you're doing this. See how it cleans it really nicely?
Yeah.
That's perfect. So you're gonna want to do this 2 times. So do it again over the whole thing. Yep. And if it does this, it means you're not parallel enough to the stencil. So press your fingers down more towards the table. Yes. Yeah. See how it does a much better job spreading when you have it more. Isn't it like night and day?
Yeah.
It really makes a big difference.
And then I scrape it back.
Yeah, scrape it back that way, yeah. Clean it up again. Good?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, keep your pressure with your fingers the whole time. Don't ever let go of your left hand. So you need to really keep the pressure with your left hand. You can put this like somewhere. Take these tweezers, press them together fully, and wipe the bottom of them off on the, yeah. And the reason being is like you want these to be as clean as possible when you press the tweezers down onto the stencil. And the reason I like to use these is because of the angle of them. You can see how you're going to be able to put flat pressure on the stencil with the tweezers. The idea being, and you don't want it to be open, you want it to be closed. I like to, for these smaller chips, I want to put pressure, no. I want to put pressure directly on the chip, not on the side.
Here?
Yes. So you don't actually need to like leave room for the hot air. The hot air is going to warm things up no matter what. But your tweezers need to be putting pressure on the stencil so that the solder balls don't connect to each other, because it's kind of pressing this grid over the solder balls. Actually, before you do this, we need to clean the top of the stencil. So wipe the tweezers one more time, just because we got some flux on it. Yeah. Grab the Kim wipe and get it around your finger. Like, yeah, that's perfect. And make sure it's a clean part of the wipe. Yep. And just wipe over it very gently. And we can go under the microscope too, just to like make sure it's clean. Yes, that is perfect. Okay, then you can get rid of your wipe and you can use the tweezers again. You don't have to press too hard, but press hard enough to like keep the pressure. Don't like strain your right hand. And then you can let go of your left hand once you have pressure on there. So this is transferring the pressure, and you can grab the hot air station. It's gonna be, actually, before you do that, something I've learned over the years is put your pressure back with your left hand, with your fingers. With your tweezers, the closer you hold the tweezers to the tip, the worse it's gonna be for you, because you're gonna be using 400-degree hot air, and it's going to be really hot. I would actually hold it a little bit further up, because you're going to start feeling it on your hands. So get your hands as far away from the stencil as you can while still holding the pressure on it, because it's going to start burning. That is perfect right there. And you can let go of your left hand. Grab the hot air. Grabbing the hot air station like this, like a pencil, really helps you to like direct the hot air where you want it to go. You want it to go kind of at an angle, yeah, like this, kind of at an angle towards the chip. So you're not going to want to put the hot air directly on the chip. You're going to want to put it on the corner, the top left corner here, and just leave it there. Like basically where the tip of your tweezers are is where you're going to point the hot air.
Close.
Very close. Because you have low airspeed, so you need to get closer. That is good right there. Leave it.
Ah!
There you go. And then you can let go of the hot air. Yep. Keep the tweezers on. Keep it on, and you can put that back. Cool. And then let go of the tweezers.
Do I press somewhere?
Nope. You can just let go. And pick up the stencil, and then just kind of poke it out a little bit with your tweezers. You can use these instead. You can use some thinner tweezers to poke it out. Just one. There you go. It's out, but flip that over. Good. And look at the beautifully reballed chip you have there. That's pretty good. And to make it even more pretty, what you can do is just use the bent tweezers here, hold it gently, and apply the flux to the chip. Good. That should be fine. Then grab the hot air station and turn the airspeed up to like 50% now. And you're just gonna
Same
reflow.
temperature.
Yeah, same temperature is fine. And then towards the chip.
Like in the corner again?
Yeah, actually just directly on the chip is fine. And just watch the screen a little bit closer.
Wow.
There it is, and you can let go, and you can put the hot air back. And my wife has just reballed a max chip without having soldered anything in her life. Put it back under the microscope. Look at this beauty of a chip. Look how perfectly reballed that is. That looks great. You can like show it off a little.
I don't have presentation skills like you.
It looks the best when it's at an angle like this. That's like
Oh.
thumbnail quality. Incredible. Nice work. So if my wife can reball a chip like that first try without having touched a soldering iron before, I think you guys can learn BGA work. Reballing and BGA rework is the kind of thing I was really scared to do when I first started microsoldering. It's really not difficult. As you can see, like with the right tools and just patience
The right teacher.
and the right technique, you can reball a chip pretty easily. And this is not an easy chip too. This is a very tiny chip. I just want to like stress, if you look at how small this thing is, this is the chip that she just reballed. So yeah, and it has about 64 solder balls on it. So all I'm saying is there's no excuse. Reballing is not difficult. It just takes, some patience and apparently not much practice because that was the first time. So we've got some cool projects coming up. I'm excited to dive into them with you guys, but I appreciate you guys for watching and I will see you in the next video. Peace.